week 3. How are you guys doing? So I've realized with my 3 main protagonists combined for my entire first novel, I have way more than 50,000 words worth of story to tell, which I would anyway, but I have a lot more than I actually anticipated having. So, despite the fact that 2 of my characters, I don't have their outlines fleshed out enough to have like chapter by chapter, scene by scene, this is how we're going to do it, I have decided to hone in and focus in particular, as far as preparation for Nanowrimo specifically goes, I've decided to hone in and focus specifically on Turian because she is the like primary protagonist of book 1. Her story is like where the title of the book comes from. So I have realized, given that Nanowrimo itself, the goal is to hit 50,000 words, which I feel like since the most I've so far hit in a Nanowrimo time frame has been about 30,000 words, I don't foresee myself necessarily getting more than 50,000 in a month. And I've done the math myself based on my own personal, like how many words I know I can hit in a day's time. Like, even if I don't quite make the mark or if I overshoot or whatever, like I kind of know what my range is depending on my mood and my like mental and creative capacity for that day. And so I have kind of already done the math and realized that for myself personally to write like 100,000 word novel, for example, I estimate that if I allowed myself the time, I could do that in about 10 weeks time because I can hit I can hit 10,000 words in a week if I am putting the effort into it and I don't have like a super crazy work week. So I feel like if I can hit that 50,000 for NaNoWriMo, then I am happy with that. I've never gone into a NaNoWriMo expecting to be able to write an entire actual novel because a novel is going to be more than 50,000 words. All that rambling aside, so I'm going to hone in on Turian's story because she is the only of my main protagonists, this early on in the series at least, that is a full-fledged fairy that we're going to be getting her perspective. The other characters in my story are what are referred to as fairykin, where like the title of my series comes from, the Fairykin Chronicles. So yeah, and like I said, her story is the one where the title of this first book comes from, Unseelie. So I am going to focus on her story specifically for NaNoWriMo because I do think that like I might periodically jump to one of the other protagonists and write a chapter here and there for them because I do have a lot of their stuff fleshed out. They are going to be a part of book 1, etc. But especially since this is my first like full novel that I am trying to write, I think this will be considerably easier for me to just mainly focus on one story. Because I've also realized as I've been outlining this, like, yes, it is all one story and it will, like, even this first book, it will kind of make a lot more sense by the end of the book, like what I'm doing with the story. But I've also realized that like each of these characters has their like full character arcs and like they're all from different parts of like my world and all that. So they're kind of, it's like writing 3 shorter novels and putting them in one. So now, basically, another thing that I've been working on is I created a new Scrivener file specifically for book 1 of the Fairykin Chronicles called Unseelie. And if you saw my video that I posted a few days ago, that was kind of like the evolution of this particular story as it's come to me and as it's kind of like evolved, then you'll know that this story originally started as a standalone historical fantasy. Just was going to be just one book. And it has since evolved. So when I first got Scrivener, the very first file that I created for it was this particular file that I'm in right now that I'm looking at. And it has basically turned into a giant cluster of random information having to do with the entire series. So I relabeled it Fairykin Series Bible because there's no way that I can, this has been where I just like dump all of the stuff for this series. So I have all of my different settings listed in here, even the ones that are not going to be seen until like the last book in the series. I have, of course, all the different main characters and important side characters, and something I've realized as I am going through this process, sometimes there's characters that pop up that I am unaware of their existence until it's like, oh, I need a character for this, and then their role becomes bigger than I expected in some cases. In other cases, they just get completely written out. But yeah, I have basically all of those different characters in here and a lot of their different profiles fleshed out to varying degrees. Even though if you've seen my personal struggle when it comes to pre-fleshing out a character before I start writing them, that doesn't work very well for me. Again, that's going a little off topic, but it really doesn't work well for me. Characters become easier for me to understand once I start writing from their perspective. So I don't go overboard with fleshing them out. I feel like for me at least, it's kind of a waste of time because so far in my experience, they all end up being different than I initially envisioned. And let's see, I also have all my different like cultures, religions, histories. Like I said, all this, like I have a whole file here for like fairy lore in my world because some of it is based on real world fairy stuff and some of it is, a lot of it really is kind of just my own fantastical thing. All of my stuff on magic systems and just like literally all of it. I even have an entire outline for a standalone novella that's going to be in the same universe, but just not in this particular series. It's like way down the timeline. But I wrote that out in like 4 to 6 hours one day back in the spring because it was just one of those ideas that I was just like, yes, oh my God, got to do this. So yeah, basically my point is that this is my series Bible Scrivener, and it is such a cluster that I have created a new Scrivener file specifically for Book 1, Unseelie, since I decided that I am going to, for Nanowrimo specifically, I'm going to try to completely focus as much as possible on only Turian's aspect of the story and have Taishi and Valyri, like, I might do a chapter for them here and there, but for the most part, I want to try to focus on Turian's story. I have been kind of taking all of the relevant stuff out of, because again, it's a series Bible, not everything here is relevant anymore. Like I've tried to kind of adjust things as I go, but there's certain things that I'm like, oh, I might still use that, so I want to leave it in here. So I've been going through and kind of bringing all of the things over into a neat, orderly fashion into my new Scrivener file. So just filling out character profiles, transferring character profiles and setting profiles and all of that kind of stuff in the new folder in a way that is much more organized and gives like more background information. I'm like all of my like papers and everything that I have laying around here, everything in my notebook, I am trying to just like combine everything into this one neat package. And when I get ready to work on, like, to specifically write Taishi and Valyria's stuff, I'm going to probably do the same thing. I'm thinking currently, my current thought is that maybe in order to tackle Book 1, since I already know kind of like how they'll be lining up throughout the story, with all the work I've done so far, then I think what I might do is try to, like, for each of these main characters, focus on their individual stories separately, and then when I have those all written, then I can go back and be like, okay, this chapter goes here, this chapter goes here, blah, 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 blah. But we'll see what happens. Like, I have realized this process is like, I can make a plan, but, you know, sometimes it's going to shift in the middle of things, so we'll see. But I'm really excited with how it's going so far. It's going to make it a lot easier on my brain, I think. I have continued to also be adding songs here and there to my playlist. Been really bulking up Turian's. And also kind of spending a little bit of time making sure that any aspects of like my world's fairy lore that and like magic systems and stuff that I need to kind of touch up or make sure that I'm like have like the level of understanding of it that I need, or that I at least feel will make me more comfortable before writing. I'm trying to kind of tie in all those loose ends right now. Another thing that I wanted to throw in here too is I'm really proud of myself. If you've been keeping up with my vlogs this month, you'll know that one of the things that I had mentioned is that I've been trying to knock out all of these mundane life things, right? And so this has been a really crazy month for me, but I'm also so excited. I have gotten so much extra like mundane stuff out of the way. So I've like one by one been removing all these stressors out of my life, basically, as well as like working extra shifts so that I can take a little more time during Nanowrimo. I have like one more thing on my to-do list. So I'm really excited, y'all. This is going amazing. All right, and so this final thing that I really want to show you guys, and I'm very excited about, is actually on a website that I am going to highly recommend. You can do a free version of this, so you don't have to pay for it, but even if you wanted to pay for it, it's super affordable. It's either an option for like $5 a month or just $25 for the entire year. So pretty sweet deal. You'll see what I'm talking about, but let me show you because this thing is cool. All right, y'all, welcome to the first glimpse of my professional quality map in progress. This is not like essential really for this stage in my writing, I suppose, which is why I haven't messed around with it more and created more, but there's definitely a lot more that I need to do to this. So bear with me, but the website is incarnate.com. It's spelled like incarnate, but with a K instead of a C. Obviously for ink. I love this site, y'all. They're of course not paying me. I am not a big enough channel to get any kickbacks from stuff like this. I am just showing you because I genuinely am obsessed, and I've never heard of this site before personally, and I research for, like, I look for things like this, and I've never found it until I stumbled across it on accident the other day. There's obviously still a lot of work I need to do, and it's still a work in progress. I have to put like whole mountain ranges and stuff like that in here, but I wanted to kind of show you just because if you've never heard of it, this thing is so helpful. I find it, even just this portion of the map, because I know where all the other stuff is going to go, of course. This much of it being done is really, really helpful for me because it kind of, like, I can see the terrain and everything. So basically, when you start this process, they just give you a blue screen. You can choose the art style that you want your map made in, and then it'll give you just an ocean, a giant ocean. Right here is where you start, and you can create land. So I'm going to show you just, boom, watch that. See how it comes in there? And you can change, like, if you want it smooth or whatever. I like the bumpy, uneven edges for the land. Of course, it looks more natural. I'm just going to remove that because that's not supposed to be there, but you can see how easy that is. Then the next step, when you get all your land masses on, you can change the sizes and everything. That's how I got some of it like smaller looking and have more shapes and whatever. It's super user friendly. And so then down here we can go to, we'll go to open catalog, so I can show you how many different land masses and colors and everything that you can choose from. So just for fun, we're going to take this one. But see, and then you have recently used, so you don't confuse any of the colors. All of that. Down here, this is where I'm currently at. This is super, super fun. You can add all of this kind of, like, see all these tiny little details up here, and the compass, and I put a little sea monster over here for funsies, and I have like a whole lot of mountains and stuff like that to add. I actually didn't even know the word karst, but that's apparently what these types of things are, but I really love how they look. I love them in fantasy settings. So yeah, I still have whole mountain ranges. I still have cities and all of that stuff to add in here, but this kind of gives you an idea. I'm just going to show you real quick. Open catalog for this just to give you an idea. So I don't know if I think I have a lot more options open to me now because I did subscribe because it is so affordable, and why not? But you can even have your like different heraldry, right? Dunes, towns, buildings, just like symbols if you just want a symbol. for something and you're not going in great depth. And also, that's another thing, is that you don't have to make an entire world map on here. You can choose if you just want to make for like one city or one country or whatever. Like literally you have options. And I am just, this is like so fun. See, here we are. There's a karst. I had no idea that was called a karst. But they got mesas, they got different types of mountains, snowy mountains, dark mountains, red mountains, desert mountains, whatever, right? Depending on your landscape. Look at all this, like fun little, like, okay, they have like a couple different options for like world trees in here. All different types of castles or towers or, you know, whirlpool. There's like a portal door, which I am super excited about. That's like perfect for aspects in my world. But yeah, like check it out. Like this is another world tree here. A couple of these. I am obsessed, y'all. Like I said, they're not paying me to tell you about this, but I just discovered this. It's super affordable, it's super user friendly, and I'm finding it really helpful, even though I'm not at the stage where I'm like trying to get stuff together to publish yet. I like having a map, as I've said in previous videos, is so incredibly helpful for me. This is even better because it makes it more realistic looking. It looks more professional, which is very inspiring to me. But on top of that, it helps really see like the different types of terrain, especially when I can add the color in and see specifically where a desert ends or begins or whatever, you know, things like that. Like, oh my God, y'all, it is seriously, it's a game changer. I wanted to make sure that I threw this in here for you guys so that if you have not already discovered this or something similar that might be working for you, totally check this out. Like I said, you have different options available to you as far as what types of maps and everything, and there is a free version, so if you just want to try it out for a bit before you decide if you actually want to spend money, but yeah, highly recommend it. So yeah, if y'all have made it this far, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to continue on this journey. I feel so much more prepared in so many ways this year. I'm really excited about my idea to focus specifically on each of my protagonists individually, write their entire first drafts out, and then move on to the next one as I go. I think that's going to actually really make this process a lot easier for me, and it's also removed a lot of the stress of like making sure everything is complete. Like if I had every single hour in the next week and a half to myself to focus entirely on writing, I know that I could get all three of those character outlines as fleshed out as I want them to be before starting Nano, but the fact is I don't have that kind of time. I have a very busy week ahead of me, and so it's helping remove a lot of stress for me personally to just focus on one at a time. I think that'll also make for each of those individual character stories being just more full, more authentic, more real. I am also just personally really proud of myself for the amount of like stuff I have handled this month to clear my schedule for next month. I feel like I'm just like on top of my game this year. I'm like, yes, let's do this. So I am so excited. It's honestly really hard for me to not just start writing immediately, but I am determined because I know myself and my writing process at this point pretty well. As much as sometimes I want to dive in and just start full out writing right away, I also feel like it is going to be better for me in the long run to have a more full outline and have each of my scenes specifically laid out. I'm really excited to get this Scrivener file, this new one that I've been working on, to be as like clean and organized as possible because, like I said, my series Bible Scrivener file is just such a disaster. It's really overwhelming to go through there, and I usually end up having multiple screens up anyway while I'm going through and doing any of this stuff. So yeah, I am just pumped, y'all. So how is your Preptober going so far? How's crunch time for you? Are you stressed? Are you excited? Are you both? What's going on? So I will see you guys very soon. I cannot wait to let you know how things go. Probably the next time I see you for a Preptober vlog, I will hopefully have all of the things done and ready to go. So I will see you soon. Happy writing.